Hey guys, I want to talk today about ChatGPT-4 and how I've been using it. And really, I've been using ChatGPT before that, but I got really excited about ChatGPT-4 and paid for it actually because I wanted to use the functionality, see what was going on. And the way I've been using it is sort of deciphering lines of code that I don't understand. So the way I've been sort of learning how to program is just basically copying text into an emulator, like this website I found that kind of has games for basic code, and you can put them in there and run them. But what I've been doing is like just say I don't know this line of code here. You can enter that into ChatGPT, and it'll explain that line of code. But before I do that, I'm gonna see if I can remember how to do a cool poke. 532 80. Is it comma? Okay. Poke 53281 0, and then control 6 gives you this cool matrix look. All right, so new list. Okay. So this is kind of how I've been using it. Is like I'll go down and let's say I'm copying this code. I'm copying, and then I get down to here, and I'm like, I don't know what this means. I'll have ChatGPT so that I can later use it for my own stuff, right? I'll have ChatGPT kind of explain it. So here we go. We got 4 here. Oops. Yeah. Whatever. Please explain this line of code. In the integer value between 0 inclusive and 99 exclusive. 100 num equals int 100 times rnd1. This line of code assigns a random integer generated in the previous step to a variable num. Now num holds a random integer value between 0 and 900 inclusive. In summary, this line of code generates a random integer between 0 and 99 and assigns it to the variable num. So if you need a random number generated, now, when I put this thing into ChatGPT 4 before, it actually explained that you can use a different seed number to get random function, a different set of random numbers because they're not really random. But if this became too predictable, I guess you could change that up. So every time it does give you like slightly different variations of the explanation, and you can kind of poke and prod at the answer to get it to explain the part you really don't understand. And that's what I really love, is that it kind of does a really great job at that. Now I know that a lot of people say that they've had this thing write code. I did not have that experience at all. Whenever I say write basic, like program in basic, like it immediately puts in some sort of a function that is not part of the language and gives me a syntax error. It does this every single time. I don't know what's wrong or how to fix that. If you know how to do it, please explain what I'm. If you're watching this video, and you know how to fix that. Tell me how to do it right, because I want it. I want to learn how to have it write like just random programs for me, and just play around with that. But it never does it. So yeah, so this is kind of how I've been like learning to program. I've wanted to start with basic just because it seems like it's more approachable. I don't know anything about programming. This is just kind of what I've been doing as a hobby on the side, and so that's kind of it is. I'll just run across something I don't understand. I'm like, I don't, this will like that. I know I've had this explained to me before. The 4 does a loop, count as the variable, and then it counts the steps from 1 to 7. So this kind of controls how many guesses you have in the game. You have 7 guesses, and then I can't. Well, let's just because I'm explaining it so terribly. Let's just just as a for example, you're going down and you're like, well, how would I use this in my own game? This is where I think ChatGPT is really strong, or at least in the way I'm using it. I I've heard people say that they're using this to do homework or write essays or do coding. I felt like when I tried those things, not not that I have homework, but when I try to play around with like a choose your own adventure kind of a thing with ChatGPT, like going back and forth, having it tell me a story and I respond to the story, it seems like it tries to wrap up the story really quick and it gets really, really dull, and it doesn't really do anything interesting like you would want, like a book that's revealing itself and like ChatGPT like just constantly giving you more of a information based on your responses and kind of play along that way. That's kind of what I thought would be cool to do with it, but I felt like it would just try to like, okay, let's wrap the story up. Everyone ends up being good in the end. Let's, that's the end of the story. La la la. And so that's kind of like my experience with it, but I guess other people are having a different experience with it, especially around coding. Sorry, I just spit into the camera, but especially around coding, I'm getting instant non working code, instant non working code. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But as far as explaining code, let's press enter on this and just see what it gives me. Line 130. Okay, the line of this code is written in the basic programming language and represents of for loop. So the for is a loop function. The for is used to execute a block of code a specific number of times. The syntax for loop in basic is for variable. This is where I really love. So it gives you like the template for how you would use for. You go for, you put in a variable, and then you start value to end value, and that's how you control how many times it's going to do it. I love that. It just gives you the roots of what you need to know. So now I know how to use for, a loop if I needed to in my program. Sometimes I get like super like whenever I try to write my own thing, I just kind of forget how to write it. Like, is there supposed to be a like I would forget? Is there supposed to be something between the for and the variable? Why is there an equal? Well, I guess the equal function sign makes sense here, but I just kind of forget how to write it, you know, and is the line after that going to work with a line before that coherently, are they like contradicting each other? So I have a hard time with all of this. So that's why I'm doing basic. I just can't do anything more complicated than this. I guess in this case, the loop uses the following components: count. This is the loop variable which keeps track of the current iteration of the loop. Now, see, um, does count actually is that what is that just a word that they're using, or is that an actual function that forces it to count? You know, but we'll ask that. So one, this is the start value of the loop. We'll begin with count equal to 1. 7 is the end value. The loop will continue until count 7. So the loop will iterate 7 times with count taking on the values of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one at a time. Inside the loop, you can place any code you want to be executed for each iteration. To signify the end of the loop, you would use the next key. I guess it would just end itself, but how would the next know that I need to end it at 7? This would indicate, but how? So this is what I love about ChatGPT, right? You can just be like, but how would next let um, work together with, sorry, I'm really bad at spelling, together with, I don't really understand how next would work together with line 130. So let's just see what it says, because I just don't get it. I apologize if my previous explanation wasn't clear enough. I'll provide more context on how the next keyword works with for loop in basic programming language. Let's take a look at it. An example using the line 130 provided. 130. I'm probably gonna have to reread all this like 50 times before it kind of enters into my mind and I can like understand. But as you can see, the cool thing here is that you can keep like whenever you just don't understand something, it will never get tired of explaining it in a different way. So you can just be like, yeah, but what about this word? Why are you putting like a colon after it? Like, why is there a space here? Does that do anything, or is that just for readability? You can just you can just keep asking it questions until you do understand it, and that's where I think its strength really is. But yeah, I don't want to keep torturing you guys. I'm probably already gonna have to cut some stuff out just because I've been reading things to myself, trying to understand it in real time, and that always takes a really long time. So, um, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, as you guys can see, I love this is this is where I think it's really strong is you can kind of learn, sit here, and you can just um, get deeper and deeper into the questions until you do understand how something works. I'm just going to type this. I don't think anything this for count. Yeah, I just sort of started this as a hobby, and because I do want to kind of learn how programming works in general. Uh, and I'm having a really hard time with it because I'm very not like logically minded, I think, and this is incredibly difficult. 150. Oh wow. So as you can see, that is an example of it writing code that did work, but that's only because I based it off of code that usually it'll do like function randomize to find a random number, which isn't part of this language, or as far as I can tell. Like when I looked it up, all the functions that you can do in the manual, I don't see randomize, and when it uses it for me to use, I get an immediate syntax error, and I don't know how to get it to stop. I told it make it compatible with this specific emulator or make it compatible with the original N64 without any modifications or whatever. And it's like, okay, I will do the modification, and then it immediately gives me code that doesn't work. So I don't know how to really fix that, but either way, I think we're gonna close the gap eventually, right? Like where people like me who do not know will learn something and will know enough to where I can guide the code through an AI and like hopefully write games, and I won't have to be a super expert in knowing like everything, just enough to kind of guide it. And yeah, so people like me who know nothing will come together with AI to make something without needing a programmer, right? Because I can draw pretty well, I just can't do this, right? And I kind of want to make a game, some sort of game. Like I feel like I can figure out how to do like other things. This is the furthest thing away from the way my mind works. So I gotta kind of focus on this first. But yeah, anyway, so I was hoping, my hope was that it would be able to write code well enough that I would be able to just kind of use it as a tool to spit out code that would make things work, But and that's what people are saying it does, but I'm not getting that result at all for basic. But anyway, this is the end of the video. I'm not gonna keep rambling on. I've been rambling on too long, and I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, my thoughts on ChatGPT is I absolutely love it for learning and using it as a co-pilot to look stuff up. Other than that, I haven't found a super awesome use for it. But if you guys have, leave a comment in the whatever thing. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.